For more on the acting AG and the status of the Mueller investigation, I'm joined by Democratic Congresswoman Maxine Waters of California, chair of the House Financial Services Committee, member of the Democratic leadership team. Congresswoman, first, your reaction to the acting attorney general making that pronouncement, the first time an official has said anything like that in the history of this probe.
Well, let me just say that there's been a lot of speculation about when Mueller is going to complete the investigation. I consider it just speculation. They don't know. Mueller has not shared that kind of information, I don't think, with anyone. He has held this investigation closely to the chest, and so I just take it as speculation.
Wait, you don't think he's shared that? You don't think he's shared that with the Attorney General of the United States, the acting Attorney General?
No, not necessarily. I don't think so.
That's very interesting.
Yes.
There's also the question about public hearings in all this. Michael Cohen agreed to public testimony on February 7th. He then backed out, citing threats from the president. He's now agreed to closed-door testimony on February 8th. Do you think it's important that he give open public testimony?
Absolutely. I am adamantly opposed to all of these close testimony hearings with various people who are involved with this whole question of whether or not the president was involved with collusion or obstructed justice, et cetera, et cetera. No, I don't like the fact that Cohen will be in a closed hearing with members testifying on anything that he said, he's not said. I think it should be out in the public. The public wants to know. This investigation has been going on for a considerable amount of time, and not only should we hear from all of those who are continuing to be called, but when this report, this investigative report is completed, I want it to be public, and I'm starting right now saying that I and many others do not agree that it should be so redacted that you can't understand it, that it won't be released, that only members of Congress can get it. The public needs to know what is going on. I demand it, and I'm trying to organize everybody that I can to call for this report to be released to the public.
There's Senate legislation, if I'm not mistaken, introduced today by Chuck Grassley and Richard Blumenthal that would essentially require a public version of the report, I think with exceptions made for redacting classified information. Do you foresee something like that passing out of the House in short order?
Well, I think it could pass out of the House. Let me just say this. The public has been very patient. They've been waiting. We have heard bits and pieces here and there, and we want to know, and the public deserves to know. And so I support the legislation that it should be made public. And if there's classified information that has to be redacted, so be it, but make this report public.
Steve Mnuchin was one of the people who's been making the case about the sanctions for Oleg Deripaska, the Russian oligarch, who, of course, also employed Paul Manafort, had a contact, a since indicted intermediary named Konstantin Kilimnik, who would go back and forth between them. Deripaska's businesses have essentially escaped now the sanctions acts from the Department of Treasury because they reorganized in ways that the Treasury Department says they're happy with. A lot of people unhappy on Capitol Hill. What's your response to the administration's actions?
I'm not happy with it at all. I think that at the center of this question about whether or not the president colluded with Russia, with Putin, or the oligarchs, et cetera, is the question of sanctions. We know that Putin wants these sanctions lifted. And I've said from the beginning that I believe, and I don't have the proof, but I believe that Manafort was sent to the campaign to be there to ensure that they get Trump elected in every way that they possibly could. And this is in exchange for him lifting the sanctions. And don't forget, our president has said that he believes the sanctions should be lifted one way or the other. So I just believe that Mnuchin is, of course, guided by the president. They're all a part of, this relationship that they have with Russia and with Putin and with oligarchs. I mean, when you take a look at all of the allies of this president that's involved in this whole question, you cannot help but ask yourself, what's at the bottom of this? And I think it has been asked more than one time, why are they all lying? I think it's about sanctions, and I think it's very important for us to continue to pressure to get those sanctions continued and enforced, and not to do what we've just witnessed they're trying to do, and that is be involved with delisting on these sanctions.
All right, Congresswoman Maxine Waters, thank you for your time tonight.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.